Welcome to another episode of China Update, where I provide you guys with the most up-to-date political, economic, and geostrategic analysis on the world's number 2 economy. My name is Tony. Let's jump in. Okay, happy Friday, everybody. Yesterday, Thursday, Beijing published its plan for a sweeping overhaul of its state and party institutions. The plan opens with, quote, efforts are needed to deepen institutional reform in key areas that ensure the party's leadership over socialist modernization becomes more refined in institutional setup, more optimized for the division of functions, more improved in institutions and mechanisms, and more efficient in operation and management, end quote. Let's start with the changes to the financial regulatory system. According to the plan, China will set up 2 financial supervisory bodies to strengthen the Communist Party's direct oversight of the financial sector. A Central Financial Commission will be set up to lead financial work under the direct watch of the ruling party's Central Committee. It will absorb an existing government council and assume responsibility for setting major policies related to China's financial system. A separate Central Financial Work Commission will be created to, quote, guide party building in the finance sector, end quote. We can see a pattern here. One China analyst reacted to this announcement with just one line, quote, the party continues to swallow the state, end quote. Chinese financial media outlet Caixin explains in an article published today that China's financial regulatory system has undergone multiple rounds of restructuring since the 1997 Asian financial crisis, and more recently in response to risks caused by the, as it puts it, rampant shadow banking and other irregularities. Adding, quote, the latest overhaul signals continued concern for the nation's regulation of the massive financial sector isn't yet up to the task of fully managing potential risks, end quote. The plans published yesterday didn't stop at the financial sector either. 3 other new, powerful party bodies were created. Namely, 1, the Central Commission for Science and Technology to, quote, strengthen the centralized and unified leadership of the party's Central Committee over science and technology work, end quote. 2, the Social Work Department of the Party Central Committee for, quote, overall planning and guidance on people's petition work, the collection of people's suggestions, the coordination and promotion of party building, and grassroots governance and grassroots political power construction, end quote. Some analysts have pointed out that this body has the same name as one established by Mao in the 1930s and are debating what this name choice means. Quote, this new body could function as an additional system of control down into the grassroots. Its mandate may not inspire confidence in the private sector or in other sectors given the echoes of the early days of Mao's rule. Yes, we are in a different era, but she is a master of party history, so bringing back a department with the same name as this feared one from the Yan'an period is worrisome, end quote. The 3rd non-financial new body created is called the Central Office for Hong Kong and Macau Affairs, and of course we know where this is going. Quote, the move aims to fully implement the central government's full governance over the 2 special administrative regions, SARs, and the one country, 2 systems principle, supporting the 2 SARs to integrate into the country's overall development plan, end quote. Next up, we have 2 economic updates which we need to touch on. This week, the China Banking and Insurance Regulatory Commission suspended data feeds to price aggregators in China's bond market, the 2nd largest in the world. Leaked reports indicate that the regulator had told brokers this week to stop offering data feeds to aggregators. The suspension of the real-time quotes made it difficult for traders to complete deals, with many turning to messaging apps to agree on prices in principle in order to get deals across the line in the interbank bond market, which represents almost 90% of China's $21 trillion bond market. Turnover in the market was rocked hard by the move, dropping over 10% this week, according to data from the National Interbank Funding Center. One Shanghai-based fixed income trader at a fund manager told Hong Kong media, quote, I'm almost blind, end quote. And things are even worse for foreign traders. Quote, group chat quotes are in Chinese mostly. If they don't know Chinese, they don't get quotes. It's like trading in the dark, End quote. Commentators believe the shock move is the result of the regulatory shakeup, which we have been following these last few weeks. UK-based Financial Times, for example, writes, quote, "The restructuring and tougher rules on data security have created confusion over who supervises data and who has the right to sell data." End quote. While the damage from this move this week was limited and is likely temporary, at the very least, it's certainly not a good look. Next up, more on the economy, and then the war in Ukraine. Hey guys, if you're enjoying the episode, don't forget to hit that like button. Sharing is a massive help too if you know someone who's into this sort of content, following China with grounded analysis. And as always, anyone who can go that extra mile and help keep China Update sustainable, Patreon and Buy Me a Coffee links are in the description below. Thank you so much, everybody, for the ongoing support. Let's continue with the economy. Yesterday, Thursday, the National Bureau of Statistics published official housing data. We need to take these numbers with a grain of salt, but if they are accurate, it would signal that, after months of costly government support, stabilization, not rebound or recovery, but stabilization, may have come to home prices. According to the numbers, China's housing prices rose in February for the first time in 18 months, with new home prices in 70 major Chinese cities increasing 0.3% year-on-year in February. 55 cities saw price gains for new housing, compared with just 36 in January. We will need to look at non-official numbers in the coming weeks to get an idea of what the trend is. Official data from Wednesday showed that the decline in housing investment and sales slowed during the first 2 months of this year. Also another early sign of stabilization. For now though, let's wait and see. Next up though, let's move through a few salient developments related to China and the war in Ukraine. Yesterday, Thursday, China's new foreign minister, former ambassador to the US, Qin Gang, spoke to his counterpart in the Ukraine. The move has raised hopes that perhaps a rumored Xi-Zelensky call could indeed be in the works. According to Beijing's readout, Qin expressed during the call, quote, "China hopes that all parties will remain calm, rational and restrained and resume peace talks as soon as possible." End quote, adding that China hopes Ukraine and Russia will not close the door to a political solution. He also reiterated Beijing's official so-called four musts policy on the Ukraine war, namely 1. The sovereignty and territorial integrity of all countries must be respected, which some Europeans have pointed to as a hypocritical position. 2. The purposes and principles of the UN Charter must be fully observed. 3. The legitimate security concerns of all countries must be taken seriously, which Beijing has previously used to justify Russia's decision to invade. And 4. All efforts that are conducive to the peaceful settlement of the crisis must be supported. Meanwhile, US-based Politico reports that Chinese firms are shipping weapons and war material to Russia. The outlet writes, citing customs data from June through December 2022, that, quote, "Chinese companies, including one connected to the government, have sent Russian entities 1,000 assault rifles and other equipment that could be used for military purposes, including drone parts and body armor." End quote. The outlet adds that North China Industries Group Corporation Limited, one of the country's largest state-owned defense contractors, sent the rifles in June 2022 to Russia, and that Russian entities, quote, "also received 12 shipments of drone parts by Chinese companies and over 12 tons of Chinese body armor, routed via Turkey in late 2022. End quote. If these reports are accurate and such behavior continues, it could further hurt Beijing's reputation within the EU and could create very serious issues within the wider US-China relationship. Okay, that is today's episode of China Update. Thank you so much everybody for watching. Have a wonderful Friday, and I will see you all tomorrow.